Welcome to Small Cap via Satellite, a production of Agoracom in which we take the time to interview small cap executives and CEOs about important information at their small cap public companies. With us today, I'm happy to have again James Briscoe. He's a CEO and president of Liberty Star Uranium, trades on the stock symbol LBSR. Now, for those of you who are new to the story, Liberty Star is an Arizona-based mineral exploration company engaged in the acquisition, exploration, and development of mineral properties in Arizona and the Southwest United States. Currently, the company controls properties which are located over what management considers to be some of North America's richest mineralized regions for copper, gold, silver, moly, and uranium. More than just lip service, the company's recent discovery of surface outcrops suggests near-surface targets, significantly lowering development time and cost. Today, Jim is here to talk to us about the Titan R40 diamond drill rig, which is proposed for the Hay Mountain project, and we're going to present with a PowerPoint slides that Jim's going to speak to. So, Jim, first of all, welcome to the show.
George, thank you very much. It's always pleasant to be with you, and I look forward to talking about this neat, very capable drill rig that we've actually accepted the parameters of a contract with the people at Titan Drilling, specifically Jeff Camsell, which I'll speak about.
All right, so we're going to pop up the PowerPoint presentation here, and we're going to be looking at slide 1. So, Jim, why don't you speak to the slides, and I'll interject where I see fit. The show is yours.
Thank you very much, George. As in all of Liberty Star's projects, we spend a lot of time and energy to select the very best and most cost-effective equipment for our projects and their parameters. And in the case of the current Arizona State Land Department drilling permits that we now have in hand, they are very sensitive to any destruction, unnecessary destruction of the state land, and in particular, the multitudinous roads that are generally required for exploration drilling. The Titan 40, which also drills rotary holes to a shallow depth and permissible rock, is primarily a drilling rig that can use all the various sizes of core bits and drill to as deeply as 8,000 or more feet. So beyond that, it's mounted on rubber tracks, and they put very little pressure on the land surface. And so when we are done with the drilling, we will remediate, as we're required by law to do, the drill locations. So we've spent a lot of time talking with Jeff and others. I've had experience with using essentially all kinds of drill companies and drill types over the last 50 years. So this really meets our criteria, and it's going to be a great experience. The Titan R40 deep hole exploration drill was designed and does meet our criteria in spades, but it was designed and built under the direction of Jeff Camsell as a result of his long experience in the Nevada gold country, where drilling and diamond drilling is particularly challenging, I meant to say. I first met Jeff more than 10 years ago when he was senior driller manager for a large drilling company we were working with, and whenever I asked a difficult question, the answer was always, call Jeff Camsell, he'll know. And he always did. He's an intense worker and outstandingly knowledgeable about all aspects of drilling, and Jeff has branched out to form his own drilling company and to design and build the R40 deep hole rig. We've selected Jeff to be our drill company, and he has given us a very competitive bid for our Hay Mountain project, which we've accepted. So let's look at slide 2.
Now, what do you, the drill here, It's designed, before we go on to slide 2, the drill Jeff has designed, it's multi-purpose from what I understand, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's primarily a diamond core rig and can drill with PQ, which is a large diameter core of about 3.5 inches, or with HQ or NQ or BQ, which are successively smaller diameter drill bits and pipe. And this rig, even though it's small in size, can drill down to 8,000 to 10,000 feet, depending on a variety of rock conditions. Yeah, it's a surprisingly capable rig.
Yeah, it looks like it looks pretty good, but its size doesn't look overwhelming. So when you're taking it down 8 to 10,000 feet, that's pretty impressive. So let me take you over to slide 2 here, and what can you tell us about what we're seeing here?
Okay, let me get to slide 2 here. Jeff has designed the rig so it can traverse steep and muddy ground on rubber tracks that exert less pressure on the ground than a human footprint. This also gives it the capability to go out on soft ground and drill by rotary or core methods for lithium brines or lithium-bearing sediments, which is all the rage today, and practically any other purpose that you might want to get drill cuttings or drill core from. So you don't have to build some kind of a support infrastructure to get out on the dry lake beds that are generally the source of lithium brines and other things as well. So we don't need a bulldozed road, which is particularly important to make less impact on the ground and on the vegetation. And the State Land Department charges us for every piece of vegetation that we squash down. So we're very sensitive about that, because it ends up costing money to pay for that rehab. Once the drilling is completed, we can take a very small scarifying tractor and kind of dress up where the existing roads were and spread seed of the particular type of that altitude vegetation regimen, and then we're done, and we don't get involved in hundreds of thousands of dollars of remedial work. Now you can see it that it appears pretty small, but there's a kneeling driller right there next to the left track there, and so it's not as small as it looks, but it's still pretty compact. Okay, and photo 2 shows the rig with the mast partially up, and the rig is getting ready to drill an angle hole, and you'll note that it's parked on a plastic sheet so that any oil or grease falling off of the mechanics of the rig fall on this impermeable plastic sheet, and once the drill hole has been drilled and everything's been picked up, they walk the rig off of the sheet and then roll up and fold up the sheet and dispose of it in a appropriate sanitary landfill. So I'll talk about photo 3. You can note by the jungle terrain, this is in a rainforest, but it is in American Samoa, where they were drilling for geothermal steam and geothermal temperatures. And so again, it's quite a bit different than drilling for ore minerals, but it was very effective for that purpose. So on photo 3, you can see the drill rig with its mast up, and to the right, the red kind of cubicle shaped thing is a portable mud mixing tank, so that they take the appropriate mud mix and put it into the tank, which has stirrers in it, and then it gets it all wetted and liquid, and then it goes into the hole for keeping the bit cool and lubricating the steel rods. In the next picture over, which is number 4,
Right.
it's another view of the drill rig showing the ocean shipping container, which some of the equipment came over to Samoa in, and apparently the rig is, even though it looks small, it's too big to go in a shipping container, so they just bundled everything up and tied it down and shipped it on an appropriate billet on the ship. And then you can see there's a trash suppository there. Cleanliness is very important all over the world. Then let's go on to photo 5, where we can see the drill rig again, and to the right is the mud mixing tank, and to the right of that, in kind of a aqua blue and yellow, is the solids recovery unit. Now this is very new. The Australians invented it, and it is essentially a large centrifuge that rotates at about 3,000 RPM, and it separates the clean mud from the fragments that are the drill cuttings and anything else that might be in it, and that is expelled into a slide where you can then put it into a wheelbarrow and dispose of it. However, if anybody listening to this will look at our website and see NR 195, as soon as I realized what the solids recovery unit was actually doing, it's not too different than what was done in the 30s and 40s of the last century, when core recovery was not very good, and frequently the mineralized stuff got ground up. So there was generally a series of buckets and basins to get samples of the drilling mud where the heavy pieces would settle out, and then they'd scrape those out and assay those to see what didn't come out in the core. This is a way more sophisticated thing, but as soon as I realized what we were doing, it was getting an identifiable sample of the rock coming from the desired depth. Pardon me. So we can sample the extruded centrifuged cuttings by use of a shovel near a wheelbarrow, and we can take samples every 2 feet or every 1 foot or every 10 feet, whatever we choose, and make sure that they're thoroughly mixed up, and then we put them into a plastic cup and then analyze it with our Niton X-ray fluorescence analyzer. And so what that does for us is that we can determine, as the drill progresses, what it is cutting before the diamond core ever comes to the surface. And
yeah, that's always really impressive. I always like that.
Yeah, well, it's so impressive that an Australian company is putting together a little lab to do this exact thing in an efficient manner. And after I'd made news release 195, a week or 2 later, I got a call from some people, and they said, we read your news release, and we're just curious whether you're indulging in industrial espionage. Your description was so accurate, we thought maybe you had somebody spying on us in our lab. Of course, I laughed and I said, no, we're not spying on you, and furthermore, if you get that lab set up, we'll be happy to rent that from you too, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel here. But it does indicate how important this is, and I think it's going to change the way drill monitoring is done. So that's quite interesting itself. And you can see that the SRU unit is pretty compact. When it's mounted on a trailer, it looks a little bit more formidable, but it's easier to move around. And towing things on skids really makes deep ruts, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep the state land department very, very healthy, or happy, I should say, and us healthy and happy. So this really defines how the rig will perform, and it looks a little bit fuzzy on my screen, but we can furnish a clear image of that and send it to anybody that's really interested. But at any rate, the engine on this is a pretty strong 235 horsepower diesel engine. And I thought that was the trick, but in a recent conversation with Jeff, he says, oh no, we have redesigned the way the hydraulic motors work, so we get significantly more torque than others do, even with a much more powerful engine. So I don't know whether he has some kind of a patent on that or whether he'd be willing to talk about it, but he said we were drilling side by side with a very large competitive rig, and we were getting twice as much footage per day as they were. And I attribute a lot of that to the torque that we continue to get off of this rearranged hydraulic system. So, and part of that efficiency is good drillers. You have to have a good rig, but you really have to have a good driller. And we've had good drillers in the past when we were operating our own rig, and they just got an astounding amount of footage. And in one competitive area out in western Arizona, one of their consulting geologists went to the trouble of getting all the past data together, and we have the best penetration rate and best core recovery of any of the other drill companies, and it was included all the big ones that had ever drilled out there. So that's in part because of the quality of the rig and also with the quality of the drillers. And Jeff is very attuned to having high quality drillers. So I'm very excited about this, and I think we're going to have very rapid penetration. We're going to operate 24 hours a day with 2 shifts, 7 days a week until this is done, and we think that it will take about 2 months to get in our 20,000 feet of drilling, which is based on that $2 million raise that we're working on now. So any other thoughts, George?
No, I think I think that was a great overview. I think everyone needs to see that with respect to the kind of equipment we're going to be using, why we're using it, what the intended goal is going to be, and you've covered it pretty thoroughly. There's nothing else there that I can think of adding. As always, Jim, you know your stuff better than anybody in this industry.
Well, one other thing I'm going to tell you and the audience is that our intent is to have all the geologists, including myself, on the site, probably staying in trailers or motorhomes, and because this is an accessible site. And we will saw the core and take 1/2 of it and sequester it per the 43101 regulations, and then deliver it to Tucson every few days, or maybe even more regularly than that, to a certified laboratory. And we've used this laboratory many times before. They're very, very good, but we just didn't have a sample prep facility that they ran to go with it. So we'll be picking up the split core under careful possession of an identified party, again per 43101 regulations. Deliver it to them for crushing and sample prep and assay. And so that assay time will be very quick, and then the other half of the core, it is photographed and then geologically logged, and then we start building cross sections and so forth right on site with powerful computers that are appropriate to the process. So This is going to have a lot of attention. This is not going to be months and months and months before you get the results back. And with the SRU unit and the X-ray fluorescence, we will have a generalized number on what we're cutting before the drill ever comes out. So by the time we get towards the end of the program, we'll know a lot about this, and then we can make a decision as to whether to continue or not to continue. And that's the my optimistic view of this is because we've done so much preliminary work in geology, geophysics, and geochemistry, as well as the new ZTEM helicopter-borne electromagnetic and magnetic surveys, which we can see that there's a 35 square mile intrusive, essentially almost batholithic size, that seems to be driving the mineralization, and that's a good thing because those intrusives are what makes porphyry coppers. So that's probably enough detail for today.
Jim, as always, I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say thanks so much for taking the time. It's amazing you take out time to even detail something like this. And we're looking forward to having you back on so we can talk to everybody about, financing being done, drill dates being set, and the excitement that's going to come from that phase. But until then, thanks so much again for joining us.
Well, thank you, George. It's always a pleasure, and I look forward to the next one.
You've been listening to Jim Briscoe. He's president, CEO of Liberty Star Uranium. You all know that. Trading the stock symbol LBSR. Make sure you get to Agoracom once you've watched it and listen to this presentation. Ask any questions you may have, and both the Agoracom team and the Liberty Star team will be more than happy to answer your questions. We value you as shareholders, and we're always open and there for you, and we appreciate your support. So until next time, have a great day, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.